Aloha and welcome to Is This For Real? I'm Gregory Dunn, President and CEO of Hawaii's Better Business Bureau. Today we have folks with us from Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union, the state's largest credit union. We have Scott Young with us, the Assistant Vice President of Operations, and we also have Scott Kaulukukui with us, Vice President or Senior Vice President of Marketing and Community Outreach. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen.
Thanks for having
Thank you.
us.
Thank you for having us.
So, the credit union, you've got big things going on in the community, right? It's like,
Yeah, I think we're trying to try to educate people more about what's going on with the finances, try to help them in that way.
You know, we were talking earlier about how you've been reaching out to neighbor island communities and you've been expanding. You've taken over a credit union in Hilo and expanded there. You know, with that expansion comes some responsibility, and because you have quite a few members. How many members does the credit union have right now?
123,000. Yeah.
Wow, that's a phenomenal number of members of a credit union in our state, of population of a little over 1 million.
Right.
So with all those lives, I'm sure you folks must have seen some areas where either your members or other family members have been victim to some fraud. What are some of the things that you've seen that are most prevalent with your members with respect to being on the receiving end of a fraudulent transaction?
Well, some of the things that we've seen from our members, just I guess through our branch system, is we have members coming in to deposit these large contest-winning checks. That's one of the big scams out there, where they will receive a letter and a check with it, stating that all they need to do is deposit it into their account, and you know, in order to like pay the taxes or some kind of fees, to send back a small portion of it, and they can keep the rest as their winnings. But what they find out is when they deposit that check into their account, and then they take out whatever small amount and send it back a cashier's check, the original check they deposit in is actually a fraudulent check, and it causes their account to go negative, or you know, causes them to lose out on the entire amount that they deposited.
Okay, so let's make sure that people understand that. So if they get a check in the mail or from someone that says they won a sweepstakes and they deposit that check in their account, you mean that customer, that person that won the money, is on the hook for all of that money if that check turns out to be fake or fraudulent?
Yes, yes. And many times too, the check will look like an official check. It may say official check on it, or even cashier's check, but it ends up being a fraudulent check, either an account that doesn't exist, or just a forged check in general. And you know, I guess the old saying is, if it's too good to be true, it usually is. Okay. You know, we always tell our members that if they get winnings from a contest they haven't even entered or even didn't know about, that's always a red flag to kind of be suspicious about.
Yeah. So in other words, in order to win something, you have to enter it. And so if you don't remember entering, you couldn't win. Right. But more than that, if someone tells you to send them money back,
that's another red flag.
That's another big red flag. Yeah.
Right.
And so your folks at the credit union, if someone has a question, they can ask the tellers, or there are people in the branch that can help them. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. You know, we have our tellers and our management staff are trained to kind of look out for situations like that. And, you know, a lot of times they'll ask our members, you know, how they got the check, or you know, did they enter this contest? And a lot of times the members are thinking that they're getting interrogated, but in effect, we're trying to protect them and to make sure that they're not getting scammed. So they may ask some extra questions like that to make sure that you know, the check that they get is a legitimate check, and they may even request or we may put it on hold to make sure it clears before releasing the funds, because you know, we want a case where the funds get deposited in thinking everything is good, they pull the money out already and send it out, and then it comes back, you know, 7 days later that the check is no good. So
yeah, and this is really important. I think that a lot of our kupuna in particular get this check in the mail and they think, oh, if someone sent me a check, that it's good, right? It's got to be good. I got a check. But what they don't realize is if they take that money and send it to someone else, they owe that whole amount that was
Yes.
bad.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, there's no protection for, there's no insurance, it's not the FDIC insurance, it's not your homeowner's insurance, nothing's going to cover that loss.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I think that you also have some brochures available in your branch that, that help explain this. It's not that you guys are trying to keep people from getting their money, it's you want to help them keep their money, right?
Yes,
Right.
correct. And actually, the Better Business Bureau, your organization actually puts out a very good brochure that we have in our branches, and it's appropriately titled, "Is This Real?" So we have this available in our branches.
We also have a lot of information on our website. We try to educate people on as scams start to come up and putting as a warning. I think one of the things, Hawaii is such a trusting place, especially the kupuna, and they trust people, and that's where they can run into problems.
Well, and we've seen that with the kupuna in particular. I mean, what are some of the ways that you've seen them lose their identity, Scott? I mean,
Well, a couple of things that we've heard about is, with the social media, where maybe their grandchild is on the mainland and they get a call and said that your grandchild got arrested and needs to get bailed out. So they want to, they say, go down to the nearest CVS or Walgreens and get this green dot card and send money to bail them out.
So that's like a prepaid debit card or Visa card or something.
Yeah, and so it's once the money goes in, it's gone. And so when you start to question, or when they start to question about it, or how come they didn't talk to the parents, or they're embarrassed, they don't want to. So can you help bail them out? And so you hope once they get you on the hook, on the phone, they're going to keep calling you back and calling you back and calling you back. And that's just one example. I think through the social media, these scam artists will get the information about who the grandparents are and start to look up and figure out how to get in touch with them.
Yeah, because most of our kupuna, they get onto Facebook. They think, oh, it's so fantastic. I can see everything that the grandchild is doing. I see all the relatives, and everyone's sharing information. But all it takes is someone to have not set up their privacy features tight enough so that it's public and the whole world can see it, that all of a sudden they know your grandchildren's name, they know your kid's name, they know the brother and the sisters, and they know when you're traveling too.
Right.
So it's like it opens you up to a whole world of risk.
Or even if your cell phone is not locked, and then the information and the contact information, if it gets lost or stolen, all that information is there, the contact information.
That's another really important point, is that there's so much computing power in your cell phone, and it's like you get a nice gift of this new smartphone that it accesses the internet, and you have an app that you can look at your bank account on. What are some of the features that you would recommend that people put in place to protect that information on their smartphones?
Well, one of the things that most institutions have is e-alerts. That's one good way to keep track of your account and get immediate notifications when your account goes negative or something is not clearing your account or something wrong with it. So that's a good way to make sure where most people would wait for their bank statements, and you got to wait the following month a lot of times, and a lot of times that could be way too late. So that, and also just making sure that the bank or credit union has your up-to-date information, things like your phone number, address, just so if we need to contact you, we have that information.
So now, in terms of like some of the other things that we've seen in the community with problems with people doing shopping online, and a lot of folks are finding it's so convenient, right? And it's like you hit a button and something shows up at your doorstep. But that also puts all of your credit card and debit card and personal information out there. What are some of the safety tips you recommend to people if they are going to be shopping online?
Well, one of the things that I would recommend is, I guess the number one rule is I wouldn't recommend using your debit card if you're shopping online. Using a credit card instead. So debit versus a credit card. Many people think they're very similar. Both have either like a Visa or MasterCard symbol on it, but they actually are very different. The debit card, the money comes out of your checking account, so it's tied to your account, whereas a credit card is not. So I would recommend not using a debit card online because since it is tied to your account, if something goes wrong or the information gets out there to people that you don't want the information out to, it's a lot more of a headache because of the fact that you would have to close your account, open up a new account, get a new card. Where if it's through your credit card, your credit card company can just shut down that card and issue you a different card.
So like with a debit card, when that number gets run through, it's almost like an electronic check where like the money comes right out of your checking account.
Yes.
So if someone has, say you have $10,000 in your checking account and someone decides to run a $10,000 check through electronic check and take all that money, can you file a claim and get all that money back?
Yes, you can file a claim. Most times, like we always recommend to our members to check your statements regularly, or check your balances regularly. And if there is something that is not done by you, that's a fraudulent transaction, you can dispute it. A lot of times, though, the process could take a little while for the investigation side. I mean, you do have chargeback rights where you get their money back immediately, but a lot of times it's a provisional credit until the investigation is completed. And then as long as the investigation comes out in your favor, there's no problem. You get reimbursed whatever funds that you had lost. But in the event that it is not, the money gets pulled out of your account again and you're on the hook. So it's more risky to do online shopping when it's tied to your account, whereas on the credit card side, for those types of situations, there's a little better protection for you to use a credit card.
That's excellent. In terms of some of the other things you've seen with being a local credit union, I know that one of the things that people don't like to talk about very much is when you have family members that you've extended a hand to help and you find out later on that they've taken advantage of you. I mean, what are some of the stories or ways that you've heard that folks have taken advantage of family members, particularly the kupuna, and what are some of the red flags that people should be on the lookout for?
Well, I think one of the main things is having somebody else use your debit card, taking the debit card from the draw, and going out and using it. As Scott was mentioning, to check your accounts to make sure that that's happening. It goes back to the trust, and many times you see that it's either their grandchild or somebody within the household that was using the card, and that's the biggest fear for us is those that are taking advantage of the kupuna. There's the elderly abuse from the financial side that's very, very concerning from our side.
Yeah, I would recommend not giving your family members your card or your PIN number. Can you take out some money from me, because they'll have that information. And not to say you don't trust family members, but we've seen those situations a lot where, they do take advantage. And another thing I would recommend is having things like, when you store your card or your statements or any personal information, keep them away in a hidden place that's locked that only you can access. That's another instance where we've seen family members or even like roommates or things, people that may not be related to you but have access to your house or your apartment, and they can get information like that.
We've seen, I think in the news where caregivers as well have taken advantage of the kupunas.
Yeah, definitely. The caregivers have been an area that we've seen quite a bit of reporting of issues with. One of the things that we had a guest on recently who suggested that one of the things seniors should consider is getting a very low limit credit card, like a $250 or a $500 limit. And if you have a caregiver or a family member that you need to send on errands to pick things up, use that, but don't give them your debit card.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're right, right.
And are those sorts of things, is that very difficult to sign up to get one of those, like if they want to attach it to their account or have that available from the credit union? Is that something that's they're able to ask for a certain credit line or do something like that?
No, it's not difficult. You know, many institutions can, I mean, you know, they have both the debit and credit card. If you want to get a credit card with a small limit, you know, you can set that. And that's totally possible. Yeah.
Now, a lot of times when folks find out that there was an issue, they're ashamed. You know, they wanted to help out, or they had someone that took advantage of their trust. How important is the reporting, and what are some of the timeline requirements for the reporting if something did happen?
Well, absolutely right away. Once they find out something might be fraudulent, the Federal Trade Commission, so the FTC, contacting them, and of course contacting your financial institution to let them know so the investigation can start getting done. Then it goes to reporting to the credit bureaus, so all three credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Yeah, that'll be the last one to report to. And then filing a police report as well too.
So the police report scares a lot of people because they think, oh my gosh, they're going to go to jail. But the police report is actually probably one of the most important things they need to do, as I understand it.
Right, right. And, you know, and many people have gotten maybe ID theft type of programs, you know, certainly reaching out after everything is done to them to restore your identity, if it truly did get stolen.
So now those programs are available as like a secondary kind of program or something you pay extra for.
Right.
In your experience, have they been effective? Which ones are out there? Are there better ones than worse ones?
Well, we do offer a couple ID theft solutions from our credit union to try to protect our members. It's purchased for a small fee. There's a restoration type of service and a resolution service. And there's two different means. So one, the organization will provide you with the documentation. You got to do all the legwork on your own. The other one, they will do the work for you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not all programs are the same, though. I would recommend really kind of reading to make sure what you're paying for and what you get. But at the same time, if you have the right program, it's a good peace of mind thing to have, mainly because if something does happen where your identity is stolen, a lot of those programs, like Scott was saying, offer restoration. And I've talked to many members who have had their identity stolen, and it takes sometimes years to get it repaired again or get things back to normal because of the damage that has been done, where they've had loans taken out in their name, or you know, their account was compromised, or you know, they've lost money in those situations. So it's
and those aren't small cases.
No.
I mean, we're talking about if someone has a good credit history, they could, you know, be hundreds of thousands of dollars that people take out in their name.
Yes, yes.
And we often ask individuals to, well, you get one credit report check free. I mean, you can annualcreditreport.com, and we encourage people to do that once a year.
At least once a year. Get your credit checked and make sure that there's things on there. Everything on there is what you've done, and there's no loans that you haven't taken out.
Right.
Yes.
So, and if someone sees something on there that is wrong, or they didn't take out, or they have a question about, there's a process for them to follow to question that or dispute it. What does that process look like? How does someone go through that?
Well, one of the things you would do, obviously, is try and contact that institution where the loan is at to try and get more information. Another thing is, like what Scott was saying, you talk to the credit reporting agencies. They can flag your account to make sure no further damage is done. And then depending how the severity of the identity theft, what you might want to also do is maybe even check with the Social Security Administration as well, contact them if you know you feel like your Social Security number was compromised as well. But you know, and also talk to your financial institution as well for advice to get a check done, or to make sure that everything on there, if there's any other things that are on there that needs to be taken off.
I think it's important for people to realize that when that winds up on the credit report, you look at it and go, oh, well, that's not mine. Someone else has to take care of it. It's really on you, the consumer, that you have to clean up the mess. And that just doesn't seem fair, but that's the reality of it.
Right. And getting it done right away. I think we talked a little bit about the online, but data breaches happen. I think we've seen a lot with some of the big box retailers. More recently, 2 hotel chains, major hotel chains. So those they sometimes provide you with some kind of ID theft type of protection. They try to offer you stuff, but so it may not be something in your control that somebody stole your debit card or stole your information. It could have been through a third party.
Yeah, those data breaches. I know that when you go online and you're shopping and you put in the information, you put in your name, your address, your birth date, all these security question stuff, all that stuff. There's a little thing that comes up sometimes that, oh, would you like to save this information for future use? Yeah. It's like, no, please don't say that, right?
Right.
The more stuff you have stored in the cloud, it's the less control you have over it.
And there's still a lot of phishing type of scams that come up through the email. And what may look like a legitimate link, they can spoof that. It's always, recommended to mouse over that link to really see if that's a true link.
That's a good one, because a lot of times I know that sometimes the spoofing websites that are out there that aren't real, that have deals that are too good to be true, will have the Better Business Bureau seal on it, and they'll make it look like it's a legitimate website, but if you hover over that little item, it'll say null or void, or it won't link to www.bbb.org and then the information for the institution.
And they may change a letter, flip the letters in the URL to make it look like it's a legitimate site. I think we always recommend that if you're going to put your information, if you're going to shop online, make sure there's the padlock when you look at the Internet Explorer, if you're using that, to make sure that's a secure site, that it's HTTPS in the URL, to make sure that that's the secure site, because many of the scam artists will not have that. People spoof caller IDs now, so it could see that it's coming from a legitimate organization. So it's really hard. I think the best thing to do is to try to be as educated as you can about what's out there.
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about the back in the 1940s when the BBB in Hawaii was founded, it was founded right after World War II, when we had a bunch of carpetbaggers that came into town and taking advantage of people selling things door to door. And well, now the felons have an access right into your house through your computer. Yes. And it's one of the things that we worry the most about, that they don't even have to knock at your door anymore. They come right into your home and are welcomed to see everything you have on your computer and all your bank accounts.
And there still are scams out there, the old, if you want to say the traditional way, people that throw personal information without shredding it. And, they call it dumpster diving. There are people that still go through the trash that they don't shred their sensitive information. People go through mailboxes and try to steal statements and things from there.
Have you seen locally that happening with your customers, where like the statements will get stolen out of the mailbox or the dumpster?
From time to time, yes. It doesn't happen as common, but I've seen the mail being stolen, and that's why I know a lot of people nowadays, they don't want to put outgoing mail in their mailbox. They take it directly to the post office, because that does happen. We still get a lot of telephone scams too, as well, where they will call Kupuna over the phone, and either one, they will try to scare them by saying, oh, their account was compromised, we need some information, or they they try to hurry them into making some kind of a quick decision and giving out information that they shouldn't be giving out. So one of the things that we always try to tell our members is we will never ask for their account number over the phone. I mean, that's the kind of things that we should know.
So like if you call them, you would not ask for their account number over the phone?
Yeah,
Never.
Never.
'Cause, yeah, I mean, if we get their name, we should be able to look up their account. We shouldn't need things like their account number, their PIN number, their card numbers, or anything like that.
I think it's key for the kupuna to find a trusted source for their financial, someone they can trust. And if they don't have anybody within their walls, it's always us as a financial institution. That's key, that they feel the trust factor in us.
And that can be like one of the folks within the bank, whether it's a teller, one of the vice presidents or personal bankers, or someone within the organization. You folks will offer that service as one way to help be that
Sure.
resource.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think our branch personnel really love helping the members, and they build a relationship with them, and that's a trusting relationship.
Yeah, that's the trust in the community is so important, and it's something that gets taken advantage of by people on the outside and even people on the inside. And we all have to have that extra layer of protection and thoughtfulness as we're dealing with our financial health.
Yeah.
We've had a wide-ranging discussion in the last couple of minutes. What are some of the parting thoughts you'd like to leave people with as they're thinking about how do I protect myself and my identity?
Yeah, I think Scott alluded to it early in this conversation. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. You run into trouble, make sure you get to a trusted source that you can that can help you.
Trusted source, too good to be true.
I would just want to add to just make sure you check your account balances regularly. I know a lot of people, sometimes they wait to the end of the month or the following month. I think in this day and age, we should check it more regularly than that.
Because you can do it both on phone or online, or you
yes.
could even go down to the branch and see the teller. Yeah.
Correct.
Yes, and that's the best way to protect yourself, because if there is something wrong with your account where somebody has access to it, you want to make sure you stop it right away. You don't want to wait until they've taken everything. So immediate response in this day and age, now that you can access your account online, is a plus for people as well.
Yeah. So definitely, if you think something may have happened or you think there's something wrong, you'd rather err on the side of caution and say something about it now, raise your hand and get help, because if it wasn't, hey, it's okay, but if it was, your money's at risk. So Scott Kaulukukui, thank you, and Scott Young, this has been a very informative and very helpful episode for us. I really appreciate you both taking time to come down and visit with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining us. Again, I'm Gregory Dunn with Hawaii's Partnership Against Fraud and Hawaii's Better Business Bureau, reminding you to ask yourself, is this for real?